access transportation to schedule rides for tomorrow. Para mañana, and the agent sounds sleepy, cansada, tired, or bored. She's aburrida. Aburrida, that's, I don't know, I would feel embarrassed to sound like that over the phone. It's like they're forcing her to be there. And I just wanted to tell her, ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? What happens? What's going on? Are you sad? Are you triste? Or you have hueva? Are you lazy? Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't know if anyone will join this room, but or this conversation. Let me see. Hello, hello, hello. I think I have to expand my screen to a full screen. Maybe you guys, I don't know if you're low vision. Maybe you can tell me if you can see me. Let me see. Bienvenidos, bienvenidos, bienvenidos. Welcome to Blind with a Vision. Welcome to Blind with a Vision, where we always have a vision. Bienvenidos a Ciegos con una Visión. Ciegos in English is blind, and we're going to be talking about it, but I'm trying to figure out about my screen. Let me see. I think I'm going to collapse my panel. Let me see if any. Are you able to see me, Trevor? Yeah. There is something on my screen that says expand panel to full screen. But then I see my title, I see my hashtag, I see everything. Are you able to see me fully? Let me see. Hi, Wichi. How are you? Hi, Victor. Hola, hola, hola. Okay. So, Wichi. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, gracias, gracias, gracias. Thank you. Thank you, Victor. Okay, Trevor. She says, it's okay, está bien, puede verme bien. Thank you, Trevor. You speak a little bit of English, a little bit of Spanish, and you speak English and a little bit of Spanish. Bienvenida, bienvenidos. Bienvenidos means welcome. Bienvenidos is B-I-E-N, V as in Victor, I-D-O-S. Bienvenidos. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Bienvenidos a Ciegos con una Visión. Ciegos means blind. I was just teaching my Spanish-speaking friends how to say blind and how to say ciegos in English. And ciegos means blind, right? And we were learning how to say white cane in English and Spanish, and I'm going to be switching back and forth, and I'm going to get confused. Me voy a confundir. So, excuse Ana, I use a lot of switching, me cambio. I switch from English to Spanish and Spanish to English, and then I promise that I don't know what I'm speaking. Prometo que de repente no sé qué estoy hablando. I promise, sometimes I don't even know because I already think in English. I think in English. And in Spanish, we were talking about the whole thing about how to learn, what to keep in mind when you're going to be learning English. And I guess I'm going to say the same in Spanish, because I was saying that once you stop translating everything into English when you want to learn Spanish, you're going to just start, thinking in Spanish or whatever language you're going to be learning, right? So that's what happened to me. And even if you have your accent, whatever that means, quote unquote accent, you're going to be thinking in whatever language you're speaking, especially if you live in that country. Right here in the United States, we have a lot of people, a lot of gente. Gente is people. Gente. Gente. We don't say gente, we say gente, right? So gente, the letter G, gente has that sound, gente, right? Not gente, gente. You know that is the word stupid, right? Pendejo. And a lot of people say pendejo. It's not pendejo, it's pendejo. The J has like the H sound. For some reason, I say that is like an H. In Spanish, the letter H doesn't have any sound, but in English, it does. So it's not pendejo, it's pendejo. P as in Peter, Endejo, pendejo. But don't go and tell people that I'm teaching how to say stupid or pendejo. I used to have a professor in college, Mr. Padilla in Spanish. Sometimes I tend to say, and when I speak Spanish, I tend to say pandilla, but it's not pandilla, it's pandilla. Mr. Padilla, I used to use the word pendejo a lot in class. He would just be talking about whatever people, and he would say, "Those pendejos," and everyone would laugh, right? So I use it very casually, like pendejos, you know, that pendejo over there, that stupid over there. So it's not pendejo, it's pendejo. I have a friend who, just to joke about it, she says pendejo, just so people don't get offended and it doesn't sound, too bad and they don't understand. She says pendejos, but it's pendejos, right, in plural. Anyway, I do a lot of switching. I guess for those who don't know Anna, I am actually from Mexico, and they brought me to the United States, and English was or has been difficult. But once you live in a country where you're going to be speaking the language and you are going blind, and you don't want to mingle with your own people because they're the ones that are very difficult when you are going blind, you just go with those who don't speak your language, and then you start struggling with your own language, and then you have to take Spanish classes like I did in college. I actually did a minor in Spanish while I was doing my bachelor's degree in sociology, and then I did a master's degree, and then I did a second master's degree. So all my blind accessible technology for the blind, toda mi tecnología es technology, uh, eh, es accesible, es accesible. And it's accesible is one of those words that you write those the same in Spanish, but the pronunciation, not the pronunciation, is different, right? So all my tecnología accesible speaks English, and I became very used to just listening to English, and the speaking in English. And there you go. Now I'm gonna start, and I'm just gonna check my screen. Right. If you're gonna be using Alex, just watch this. I hear this little sound. Bien. Estoy bien. Victor, thank you. Gracias, Victor. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Victor Reynoso. Hi, Victor. Okay. Let me see. Okay. So 36 people. Gracias is thank you. As you guys, I'm sure that you guys know that gracias. Gracias. Gracias is thank you, right? Thank you. So hope this is going to be helpful. One of the things that I was actually mentioning on my posting on Facebook and Instagram, and I did mention this on my description for the Spanish live, is that whenever we, the blind and visually impaired, want to learn a language, un lenguaje, it is easy, it is easier, es fácil, fácil, F-A-C-I-L, fácil, easier, when you actually have the talent for languages. Yeah, cuando tienes el talento, when you have the talent. But it is also challenging because of the visual. It is challenging for anyone, even if you have the talent, when you have a visual disability, especially if you are totally blind, because a lot of the material, whenever you want to learn a second language, third, fourth, five, whatever language, a lot of those books are very visual, right? Los libros are books. Libros are very visual, muy visuales, very, muy, M-U-Y, muy visuales, very visual. And they have, usually, whenever you take a second language, Spanish in this case, professors are actually going to be having a workbook that has pictures of people or figures, and it'll give you, they have exercises where you have to, look at the picture, write down the name. For example, if there is a nurse, enfermera, and you have to write down the name, right? If there is a picture of a doctor, it's one of those cognates where you write it the same, but you pronounce it differently. Doctor. And when you are blind, you're not able to see the photos. And I actually used to work at Cypress College, helping people with disabilities. This was students who graduated from high school, and I would prepare them to go to the university and teach them accessible technology. But then we got a whole group of people who was, it was adults 18 and older, and they were actually learning English. And I was in charge of interviewing them, doing the intake, and actually, setting up all the accommodations for, actually translating for them, interpreting with the counselor, and letting the counselors in the school know what accommodations they needed, depending on if they were low vision, baja visión, baja visión, or totalmente ciegos. Totalmente ciegos is totally blind. Totalmente, ciegos, C-I-E-G-O-S, is blind, right? Ciegos, but it's plural. In Spanish, we have ciego, one, ciegos, more than one. And one of the challenges that I had was actually the school understanding that a blind student and low vision, whenever, that they needed accommodations. And it was creating these books on the accessible format. Because whenever you go on YouTube, nobody ever thinks about creating a video accessible for the blind, right? I mean, you can go and learn Italian, any language, Italian, French, any languages on YouTube, Spanish. There is a ton of videos in Spanish. The same in English, right? If you want to learn. But what do? They actually have a board, and I am kind of pointing at my wall in the back, which is kind of beige white, and they're writing, and they point at the word. The way it happens when we go to school as a blind student. Remember when I was low vision and I would sit at the front of the class to record all the classes, and then I just went totally blind. But even when I was low vision, I was not able to see the board. So the professors would turn around, and then they would say, like, what about this, you guys? And I had to remind the professor, can you just speak out loud what you're saying? Because, I'm totally blind. And I made a friend who was deaf, partially deaf, and she would complain whenever he was speaking and facing the board and giving her the back. So there we were, reminding the professor. So my point is that learning a language is a little challenging, right? Although there are many ways nowadays that we have tecnología accesible. And if you really want to, I was saying in Spanish that the first thing that you gotta figure out is, do you really want to learn Spanish? I guess the response is yes. And number 1B is that you have to have the confidence, right? Confidence, seguridad, tienes que tener la seguridad, confidence to actually go for it and don't be shy about it. Don't get embarrassed. I was saying that a lot of people here in the United States who are natives, the first thing they ask us when they hear us speaking English is like, "Oh, you have an accent. Tienes un acento, accent, acento, 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 acento. Where are you from? ¿De dónde eres?" And at some point, it bothers us because, from what I figured out years ago, it's like foreign accent equal to low intelligence, and that is totally wrong. No es cierto. It's not true. No es cierto. Means it's not true. It's not true, right? We all have an accent. People from New York, they got an accent. People from Texas, they have an accent. Even my sister, who has lived in Texas forever, her kids, who were born there, and they come from a Mexican mom and Mexican dad, they do have an accent. They speak like people from Texas, right? Here in California, people speak very fast. And I have always spoken really fast. Rápido. Yo hablo muy rápido. I speak really fast, right? Fast, rápido. So I guess one of the things that you got to keep in mind is that create a plan, because nothing that is not written will not happen. Write a plan on your computer, on your iPhone, record, use voice memos, whatever, Brailler, and keep that in mind. Do not allow anyone to make you feel uncomfortable. We all have an accent, right? Some people who I know, people who I was saying in Spanish, that I know people who actually speak 11, 10, 9, 8 languages. And whenever they speak Spanish, I can still hear the accent, but they sound beautiful to me, right? Now, they say that they're fluent, but when you learn a second language, um, sometimes it's difficult to just become fluent like the whole way, especially when we learn English, because English, I was saying Spanish, English is one of those languages that they don't require, it's not a straight line. You have to follow different techniques depending on who you are. And English, we have all these sounds for each vowel, consonants, depending where the vowel goes. In Spanish, the way you write it down, the way you pronounce it. That's the good news. La forma como lo escribes, así se pronuncia. The way you write it down, the way you pronounce it. So we're going to be learning together. Now, why did I call this this video accessible? I was sharing with my Spanish speaking that I actually have a master's degree in gerontology, and I love older people. So for years, I actually used to have an English class as part of the agency where I was working, teaching English and Spanish. So for older adults, you guys know that learning a new language is actually very, very beneficial, right? Especially as you are, when you are aging, they have found that is one of those activities that older people should be doing, because as you get older, you should challenge yourself and challenge your brain and make it work, because it's not true that neurons die. Las neuronas no se mueren, right? Neurons don't die. They keep, it's not true. Years ago, they used to believe like, oh, you get old, no more neurons, right? No, they actually keep going. Now, languages, if you are young and you are blind, speaking a second language, believe me, that will give you a little bit more of money. When you apply for jobs, I have had jobs, and as soon as they know that I actually speak Spanish, they pay a little bit more, even if it's a quarter, 50 cents, $1.50. Last job that I had at Walt Disney Travel, they asked me if I wanted to take calls in the Spanish department, and they were paying me $1.50 more than the regular. So $1.50 sounded great back then. So there you go. It's a lot of benefits. You can just, English and Spanish are those languages that everyone wants to speak. So now why do I call it accessible? Because I don't know if this will work in English, but the way In Spanish, the way we write it down, the way we pronounce it. English is not like that. So I was telling my Spanish speakers that they actually, the way table. I was sharing with them about how to say mesa, mesa. Mesa means table, but in Spanish, in English, we pronounce table the way we pronounce it is not how we write it. So I make it accessible, saying like, okay, you write it this way, but you pronounce it this way if you say it in Spanish, which could be confusing. So in English, we don't have to do that, right? So if I say, my name is Ana, yo, I'm pointing at myself, yo me llamo Ana. Yo me llamo Ana. My name is, right? Which would say like, I call myself Ana. I guess if you really translate every single word. Me llamo, you don't have to say the yo. You can just say, me llamo Ana. Me llamo, my name is Ana. ¿Cómo te llamas tú? What is your name? ¿Cómo te llamas tú? Question mark, right? In Spanish, we actually open the question mark and then close the question mark. In English, we don't, which is close it. ¿Cómo? C-O-M-O. ¿Cómo te? T-E. And we say te because the T is te, e. ¿Cómo te llamas? Llamas, L-L-A-M-A-S. Llamas tú, T-U. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the ABC, hopefully. I actually get lost a little bit when I do the ABC, English and Spanish, or when I want to translate. But just so to make the point that Spanish actually is very easy. And please do not worry about your accent, your pronunciation for now. I know that we were talking in Spanish that one of the ways is you have to really, besides what I share with you, and listen to the radio, play music, watch movies, listen to the visual description for the blind, find a buddy, find a novia or novio. Novia, N-O-V, as in Victor, I-A, novia means girlfriend, but girlfriend like romance relationship. Novia and novio with an O. Novia, novio. In Spanish, we have the feminine and the masculine, like in Italian, French, and those languages. In English, we don't. Novio, boyfriend, and novia, girlfriend, right? So find a girlfriend, encuentra un novio, encuentra una novia para que practiques, so you can practice. Para que practiques, so you can practice, right? It doesn't have to be a novia or novio. It could be just un amigo o amiga. Amigo, amiga. A-M-I-G-A, amiga. Is not amiga. It's not with a C. I hear people saying amiga. Amiga o amigo. In Spanish, when we say or, we say o, just the letter O. Amigo o amiga, right? To practice. I disagree with many people that you have to speak with someone that is a native Spanish speaker. I mean, Spanish, we have so many countries where they speak Spanish that you're going to find so many different Spanish accents. My favorite one, Argentinian. I love the Spanish from Argentina and from Spain. Argentina y España. Argentina y and the and A and D, and in Spanish is just the Y by itself. Argentina y España, Spain. Me encanta el acento argentino y el acento español. I love the Argentinian accent and I love the Spanish Castilian accent, Castellano. I love those accents, right? So one thing that you got to keep in mind is reading is the whole listening, speaking, reading and writing. You can do it on your braille, you can do it on your computer. The reading, how do you read if you're blind? Well, use your computer and go and spell. Find something to read in Spanish on the computer. Use your jaws the way I do. I'm teaching myself more Italian because I have to speak Italian before I die. Antes de que me muera, voy a hablar italiano. Before I die, I will learn Italiano. I will. Um, so now, speaking well, find someone, watch TV. I know taxi drivers, so they actually are always listening to music in Spanish, and they are white, blue eyes. Well, they always tell me, I'm blonde, blue eyes, I'm a gringo, and I speak Spanish, and the Spanish is actually pretty good because they have always practiced with clients and they actually listen to the radio. Radio, another cognate, you write it the same. Radio, se escribe igual, you write it the same, and it's radio. So they listen to the radio and they watch televisión. Tele. We don't say TV. They watch TV. We say tele, televisión, right? It's very common to say like, oh, I was watching tele, TELE, right? So let me see if any of you have commented or if you have questions. Feel free to share any comments, questions, preguntas, and then we'll go and do the ABC so you can actually hear the sound. Let me see. Let me see. Déjame ver. Let me see. Alex, you're so funny. He's making those sounds when you read it. When you read his comment on Alex, the voiceover is making this. Okay, you use voiceover. You're blind and you use voiceover. Muy bien, yo también. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Okay, hold on. Un momento. Okay, so I'm gonna go and do the ABC just in case anyone wants to watch this. But I have more people always, watching on in Spanish because everyone wants to learn English. Spanish, no creo. I don't believe. I don't think a lot of people want to actually learn Spanish because I mean everyone wants to learn English, right? Inglés is English, inglés, español, and I don't know. I think more people who wants to learn Spanish, like here in the United States, for example, or I don't know, you guys have more, I guess, more access to material that is accessible. Like, for example, for me, I have my book in Italian. On the whole book is on electronic format, so it's easy for me just to go to my computer, and just put in the flash drive or the CD. I have both, and I can just open up the book and go and spell and read it and then practice the vocabulary, right? So I would say that if you really want to learn Spanish, tienes que practicar. The way you write practicar is practice. Practicar, practicar, practicar. Tienes que practicar y tienes que hablarlo, escucharlo y leerlo. Hablarlo, to speak it, escucharlo, to listen, leerlo, to read it, y sí, escribirlo, to write it, right? Now, I'm gonna just do the ABC, and hopefully I'll be able to do this, right? So, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, Z, right? So again, A is A. Well, let me do it the other way around. A is A, like Anna. A-N-N-A, Anna. A. B is B. See, I always get confused with this. B is B. B as in baby. B. So baby in Spanish is bebé. Bebé. B-E-B-E. Bebé. So B. Letter C. 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 C as in Coco, right? My mom's name is Coco. C-O, C-O, Coco, right? Coco. A, B, C. D is D, like in doll, right? D, D. As in Daisy, Daisy, right? D. D-A-I-S-Y, Daisy, right? It's not a good example because that's an English name. D is D as in dedo, D. Dedo, D-E-D-O, dedo. Dedo means finger, dedo. My dedo hurts. My dedo hurts. Me duele el dedo, D. Letter E. The letter E and I is so confusing for us because the way we pronounce it is actually switch in English. Those two are confusing for Spanish speakers. So A, B, C, D, E is letter E, as in elefante, elefante, elephant, elefante, E, L, E, F, A, N, T, E, elefante. Did you hear that? E is the letter E, but in Spanish it's E. So it doesn't change. The sound doesn't change. L, E, L, E, L, E, L. F, A, letter A is A, fa. So when you're putting it's a syllable or a consonant with a vowel, you can hear the same sound. L, fa, letter A is A, elefante. T, E, T, E, elefante. Just to make my point, like the way you write it down, the way you pronounce it. So if you have, if you use JAS or NVDA, or you have an iPhone, whatever, go and spell out. I don't know, change your phone into Spanish. I was telling my Spanish speaking subscribers, you can actually learn English using your iPhone or your Android. So you can do the same. You can switch your iPhone into Spanish the way I do, but I do get a little lost, I have to say, right? So A, B, C, D, E, F, F, right? As in feo, feo, F-E-O, 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 feo. Feo means ugly. I am fea. In this case, we have the feminine and masculine. Fea, feo is ugly. Feo, he is feo. Él es feo. She is fea. Ella es fea. I am fea. F-E-A, fea. Did you see like F-E? The E is letter E, and in Spanish, E. So it's fea. Letter A, fea. I think I made my point. F, A, B, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. G as in gigante, giant, giant, gigante. Letter G is not gigante, it's he. That's the sound for G in Spanish. Ga, he. Here the G is in the middle of the word. Ga, G-A, gante, gigante, right? Gigante. So the way you write it down, the way you pronounce it. Let me see if any one of you has a comment. Let me see. Let me see if any questions. Let me see. Okay, so you're listening. All right. So now, what I guess I don't want to bore you with the ABC, although that was my point to actually emphasize the whole thing about the way you write it down, the way you spell it. Like, I don't know, you can practice how to say your name. Like, I know Trevor's name, some people who speak Spanish, they call him Trevor because his name is Trevor. Okay, let me spell it in Spanish. Trevor, Trevor, right? Trevor. That's how someone in Spanish would say it because when they look at it, say, oh, Trevor, right? Now, the R, I was saying like in Spanish, like the R in Spanish, the way we do the R, the way we vibrate the R is because the tongue actually touches the top of your, above the Alexa, para. I set up my Alexa for an alarm to let me know how much time because I usually go so long, but this time I will not. And para, P-A-R-A, para means stop. Para. Also, it also has a different meaning. This is for you. Esto es para ti. This is for, also means for, F-O-R, for you. Para means stop, right? For the letter R, in Spanish, the way you're going to pronounce the R is that, I guess, understanding that in English, when we pronounce the R, your tongue goes behind, on the upper teeth, above on the upper part of your mouth. The tongue goes up, but you don't really touch the roof of your mouth. You don't. As soon as it's going to touch, you bring it back as if you're going to swallow it. In Spanish, we actually let it touch. Like if I say carro, right? Listen, carro, which means car. If I say car, like pronounce using my R in Spanish, you would say car. Instead is car, right? The R, say it loud, car, and pay attention how your tongue goes up, car, and then it actually goes back, car. We don't really touch it. But if you touch it, you will say car, and you keep the tongue there. That's how we do the Spanish, and I'm pretty sure that's how Italians do the R. Atravesiamo. Car, right? So that's how we do the R. So there is a lot of like perro guia, right? Guide dog in Spanish is perro guia. Perro. They say that I exaggerate my R in Spanish. I might. Sometimes when we don't use the Spanish a lot, we tend to do that. And people don't really say perro. They say perro. But sometimes when I say it could be confused because they don't understand if I say perro. Sometimes I can say pero, I don't know. I've been told that I don't pronounce it, but perro guia, guide dog, right? Guide dog. Perro guia is guide. Guia, guia, perro, guia. Now, let's learn some vocabulary about the blindness. Blind is ciego, ciega. Blind. Yo soy ciego. I am blind. Yo, Y-O, pronoun yo. Soy, I am blind. Soy, S-O-Y, blind, ciega. Yo soy ciega. Ciega, C-I-E-G-A, ciega. Yo soy ciega. And you don't have to say in Spanish, we don't have to say the pronoun like yo, the pronoun, right? The yo, like me, I. We can do it without the I am blind. You just say blind, right? It's weird because you can just say soy ciega. And the soy already means like the I am blind, right? Soy ciega, soy ciego. I am blind, ciego. Now, visually impaired, gosh, that one is, I don't know. They were reminding me earlier that visually impaired es visualmente impedido. Visually impaired. That's if you want to be politically correct and really know what if when you translate, visualmente impedido. Although as I guess you can just say I have a visual disability because that one, oh my gosh, I always say blind and people correct me in Spanish because it sounds so cruel in Spanish when you say ciego and ciega, suena cruel. Cruel is one of those cognates. We write it the same, but you just pronounce it different. Cruel, cruel, right? The word ciego y ciega to many people in Spanish sounds cruel. To me, that's the right word. That's appropriate. That's the correct way to call a blind person. But many people like to be called low vision, baja visión, baja visión. Vision again is a cognate. It's one of those words that you write the same and you just pronounce it, visión. We don't say vision, we say visión, right? Baja, B-A-J-A, baja. Like those restaurants that we have here. Baja Fresh. There are restaurants here in Southern California that they call Baja Fresh, right? Baja visión, which means low vision. Discapacidad visual, visual disability es discapacidad visual. Discapacidad visual es visual disability. Discapacidad es D-I-S-C-A-P-A-C-I-D-A-D. Discapacidad. My gosh, that's a long word. Like disability, just like disability, right? Disability, discapacidad, visual disability. I guess going back to the visually impaired, honestly, that means visualmente visualmente impedido. I don't know. I have to ask my friends who speak Spanish. Maybe you guys, tal vez los que hablan español me lo pueden poner aquí. ¿Cómo se diría visual impaired? Visualmente impedido, right? Now, legally blind, legalmente ciego. Legalmente ciego. L-E-G-A-L-M-E-N-T-E. Legalmente ciego. Legalmente ciego, right? Why do you want to know this? Maybe you're going to start speaking to someone who speaks Spanish and is blind. They can totally help you learn Spanish. Te pueden ayudar a aprender español y tú le puedes ayudar a hablar inglés. Although sometimes it's not a good idea to find someone who is actually interested in learning either language because then you're not going to be practicing. You want to find someone who just wants to help you, honestly, right? So, bastón blanco, white cane. Bastón blanco, right? And in Spanish, we do not do what we do in English, where we say the White House. The adjectives do not go first. We first say that, like the noun, right? House. The house white, right? The carro rojo. El carro rojo. We don't say the car red, right? So in Spanish, just remember adjectives go after, right? El carro rojo, the red car. La casa blanca, the White House. Blanca, because it's casa and casa is feminine. That's why I say blanca. If it's blanco, bastón is masculine, I guess. Bastón is white cane. Bastón, white cane. B-A-S-T-O-N, bastón blanco. Mi bastón blanco me encanta. Mi bastón blanco me encanta. I love my white cane. Amo mi bastón blanco. I love mi bastón blanco, right? Amo, A-M-O, amo. Yo te amo. I love you. Yo te amo. Te amo. You can just say te amo, right? I love you. Te amo. I love you. I love you. I always say I love you too much in chingo, but you don't want to know that because I don't know how to say that. I just love you a lot. I love you. Te amo mucho. Mucho, 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 mucho. Let me see if you guys have any questions. Feel like, okay, Trevor. Yeah, Trevor says in English, all the R's are a little soft. In English, they're a little hard. Sí, 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 sí. Yes, yes, in Spanish, it's sí, S-I. Sounds like if you say sí to see, right? But it's just sí. Sí, Trevor, S-I, sí. Yo entiendo. I understand. Let me see. Yeah, the British R. Yeah, the British R is I guess is a little softer. Yeah. Let me see. ¿Qué más? ¿Qué más? Un momento. Víctor dice, he likes my attitude. A Víctor le gusta mi actitud. He likes my attitude. Actitud. Attitude. Gracias, Víctor. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Gracias. Te amo. Te amo, te amo. I love you. Okay. Let me see, ¿qué más? Un momento, por favor. Sean pacientes con Ana. Sean pacientes con pacientes. Es patient. Be patient with Ana, right? Sean pacientes. A ver, un momento. A ver. Hay 6 personas escuchando. Have 6 people listening. Not until you actually make a comment. I'll know who you are. No hasta que hagan un comentario. Voy a saber quién son. I don't know. In English, I don't really have many people actually joining my lives in English. I do have people in Spanish more than I have in English. So sometimes I go like, oh, I get a little discouraged. Maybe I'm just speaking here by myself. Estoy aquí sola. Sola is, alone. Sola or solo. Solo, sola, like I'm going to sing a solo. No, I'm here sola. Sola means like I'm here alone. Alone means sola. Me siento sola, sola, sola. I feel sola. No, it's just a song that says I feel alone. I feel lonely. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what else to teach you. I guess I will just teach you the yo, tú, él, ella, nosotros, nosotros, vosotros, right? The pronouns. Maybe this will actually help you, and then we'll just are gonna go. I don't know. I would love for you guys to once I close this room to actually go on this video and make a comment. Would you like to actually continue with these classes where we can just do vocabulary practice and just, I don't know, you can ask questions, and I will have to do that video not on Fridays, at a different time. And even if you don't comment and go and message me and tell me like what day would be good for you and if this is something that it would help you, I guess I will do 30 minutes on a live video, just me, myself, just yo sola, me, alone. And I'll do the English because a lot of people in Central South America and Spain, they do want to learn English. Ellos quieren aprender inglés. Ellos, they quieren, want to learn, aprender inglés. Ellos quieren hablar inglés. They want to speak English. Ellos, ELLOS. And I was joking in Spanish that in English we don't have the LL sound, right? And Spanish is one of those letters that is very popular. And just like the word chicken, chicken in Spanish is pollo. And I was mentioning that we actually have this chain of restaurants here. I don't know if they're all over the United States, but we actually have those here in Southern California. It's called Pollo Loco. And I always hear, no offense, I always hear gringos, gringos, people from here saying Polo Loco. And it's not called Polo Loco, it's called Pollo. Pollo. Like when you say yo yo, pollo, I guess for you to kind of have an idea how you say the LL. In Spanish is elle. Pollo Loco. Loco means crazy, right? Crazy chicken. So pollo loco, right? Anyways, so let me see. So let's start with the pronouns, and then I'll check and see if our messages, questions, comments, and then I'll just review the ABC and make my point, and then I'm going to go, right? Anyway, so the pronouns I is yo, yo. I, so the I, you, he, she, they, they, we, it, whatever. Those are this is what I'm gonna say. And by the way, I'm not an English and Spanish teacher. It's just that I'm here. I'm brave. Soy valiente. I'm brave. Valiente means brave. Valiente, brave. I'm very brave, right? So I, yo, yo, yo. Yo soy Ana. Yo soy Ana. I am Ana, right? You, tú, tu, or the polite way is not the polite, but I guess the polite or this formal. The formal one is, for older people or people in the position of power, like someone you don't know, I don't know, the president or your professor, would be usted. Tú is for friends, family members, children. Tú or usted. Like my favorite aunt, who's going to be 81, I always call her usted. ¿Usted quiere esto? I mean, you would say that because she's my favorite aunt, I would call her tú. I don't. I do call my mom, I call my mom tú, you, tú. ¿Tú quieres esto? Do you want this? Or my aunt is usted. Usted quiere una soda. Usted quiere un refresco. Soda means is refresco, right? Usted quiere, do you want? Usted quiere un refresco? My mom, ¿tú quieres un refresco? Although a lot of people call their moms usted, right? My sisters call her usted. My brothers call her usted. I believe I'm the only one who calls her tú. Tú, I don't know, because we never call her mom. We always call her by her name, Coco. We call her Coco, and it was always Coco, so I don't feel like I would call her usted, right? So I, yo, you is tú, usted, right? If I say tú me gustas, I like you. Tú me gustas, I like you. Tú me gustas, I like you. But I can also say, if I'm saying formally, sometimes, you can informal in Spanish. In English, you don't know if it's formal or not. But in Spanish, you will know if it's someone older. And I say, usted me gusta. Listen to the difference. Tú me gustas. Tú me gustas. And if I use the formal, usted me gusta, right? We don't use the yes at the end. Usted me gusta, right? Now, he, él, y él. Él es mi amigo. Él es mi amigo. He is my friend. Él es, y es, mi, am I, amigo. Él es mi amigo. She, ella, ELL. Ella es mi amiga. Like in Italian, vivo per lei. from Andrea Bocelli, Vivo por lei, ella, right? I live for music, I think is a song, Andrea Bocelli song. Vivo por ella que me da, da 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 da, right? Vivo por ella, I live for her, right? She is ella, E-L-L-A. There you go, the L-L, ella. Ella es mi amiga. She's my friend. She's my friend. Ella es mi amiga, right? Now, they, ellos, o ellas. They, ellos, E-L-L-O-S, E-L-L-A-S. Ellos, ellas. We don't have that in English. In English, we only say they, right? They. Ellos son mis amigos. Now it's plural. Ellas son mis amigas. Ellos son mis amigos. Ellas son. And now it's plural, so we're using the word S-O-N. We're not saying ella es, es. Now it's ellos son, S-O-N. This is so similar to Italian. I'm actually learning my Italian. And I took French and I took Portuguese just for fun in college. And this is so similar, right? So, ellos, ellas. Ellos son mis amigos, ellas son mis amigas, right? So they, we, this is a very long word in Spanish. I always joke about this because we is just W-E, we, and Spanish is nosotros, nosotros, o nosotras, right? N-O-S-O-T-R-O-S, nosotros, o, remember that the letter O by itself is or, o, nosotras, N-O-S-O-T-R-A-S,